We used to think about trade in terms of exports and imports, tariffs, and all of that. That's not what the TPP is about. And if you think about it, the United States already has 6 trade agreements has trade agreements with 6 countries that are in the TPP. Already has 6, right? The other 4, Vietnam, the average income is, I think, $1,374, right? So no one's really going to be buying our goods. Brunei has a population of 4,225,000, which is less than Huntsville, Alabama, right? What kind of opportunity is that for the United States to export its goods? New Zealand has a population of only 4.4 million, which is smaller than the DC metro area. So, and all the 4 countries combined have a GDP equivalent to Pennsylvania. So we don't have a lot of information because all of these things are secret, right? We don't know. But what we do know from the 2 chapters that were leaked, and also from some cooperation from international allies, international negotiators who talk to us about different things, is that this, in terms of trade, at least for the United States, this really doesn't make sense. So we begin to ask the question, what is this about? And I think Alana is going to talk about specifically, or more in depth about the investor state provision, and some of the videos alluded to that. That gives corporations the right to bring suit against the United States if our laws, environmental laws, labor laws, health laws, somehow maybe prevent them from making future profits. And so our laws and the laws of other countries have to be adjusted to fit trade deals. It's absolutely insane. It's absolutely insane. Has anyone here heard about the WTO cost of country of origin food labeling case that came down? Yeah? So that's just one. I'll go over it briefly because it's scary enough. It's really scary, and the TPP would go even further. So Canada brought a case against the United States in the WTO because they said that the United States food laws, specifically the country of origin labeling laws, prevents them from making profits because maybe consumers will be biased and want to buy local meats and not from Canada. They won that suit in the WTO, and so now the United States has to conform to that ruling, and now we won't know where our meat comes from. And so the government either has to conform or pay Canada the profits they would have made. I mean, it's completely outrageous. And this is going to happen. I mean, this is happening with food. It's going to happen with medicine. It's going to happen with a lot of other goods. And so I think I'm going to stop there so we have more time to go in depth more about investor state and also for questions and answers. But I'll stick around, and I look forward to hearing your questions. Thank you.
Thanks, Elisa. Thank you so much. Next we have Alana Solomon, who joined the Sierra Club's Labor and Trade Program as Trade Representative last March. She's worked on a wide range of issues: anti-poverty organization, women's rights, the right to human security in times of emergency, international climate justice, multilateral funding for climate change, and more. Alana will explain why TPP threatens the environment and specifically discuss how TPP and hydrofracking are linked. Alana.
Thank you, everyone, for being here tonight. This really is fantastic to see so many people willing and eager to learn about the Trans-Pacific Partnership Free Trade Agreement, the corporate power tool, as Elisa and others have explained. So I am going to be talking tonight about the links between the TPP and the environment, And we could really have a day-long or way more longer seminar on how our whole free trade model undermines environmental protection and how the TPP impacts the environment. We could talk about how free trade exacerbates climate change by shifting the production of our goods to places with low environmental or no environmental standards and low labor standards, and then we ship all of our goods thousands of miles across the world. We can and will talk about how our free trade model allows corporations to attack environmental, labor, and other laws, how intellectual property rules, for example, could prevent the transfer of technology, and much more. But I know this is a Friday night, and you probably don't want to hear all night, and we have other wonderful speakers, so I'm going to focus on a smaller subset of issues. And talk specifically about the environment chapter, one of the what we understand are 29 chapters. We don't even know exactly how many chapters are in this agreement or what they are. We actually had a little guessing game the other day to see if we can name the chapters. I'm going to talk about the investment chapter, which we've heard a little bit about already, and then specifically, although not in a chapter, talk about how, again, the TPP could pave the way for more fracking across the United States. So again, one of these chapters is on the environment. I'm actually not going to spend a lot of time on this chapter, but I do think it's important for folks to know that it exists. The United States has a proposal on this chapter. Again, we don't know what it says. We don't know. None of the proposals are open to the public, but they tell us, and we have seen a summary, their summary of the proposal, that it supposedly deals with the core sort of conservation challenges of the region. So things like how to tackle trade in illegally harvested timber, which is a major issue in the region. How to, if folks in the back can hear me, please do wave. So how to tackle things like trade in illegal timber, trade in illegal wildlife, and endangered species, and fisheries management, for example. The United States prides itself in putting forward a very strong proposal, a legally binding chapter, and yet, at the same time, their proposals in all sorts of other parts of the agreement are the most extreme provisions that will directly undermine any potential good outcome that we might have in an environment chapter. And one of the places where we see the greatest risks to the environment is in this investment chapter. And the whole idea of investment is in free trade agreements is we want as much investment as possible. So as many corporations investing in as many places as possible. And to create as much trade and investment as possible, we give corporations broad rights to make them feel comfortable investing wherever they would like, however they would like. So this is where we've been hearing about these rules. I'm going to say it again because it's so unbelievable. Maybe you guys blocked it out. That the TPP, and we know this because this is one of the leaked chapters, includes rules that would allow foreign governments, foreign corporations, to sue a sovereign government in a private tribunal for unlimited cash compensation for basically any law or policy that that corporation believes or argues it's hurting its expected future profits. So these cases, as we heard, they're called investor-state disputes. They actually elevate an investor to the level of a state, although states can't challenge corporations, corporations can challenge states. Again, they evade our domestic court system because these cases are heard not in domestic courts, but in private tribunals under the World Bank and under the United Nations. They're heard by 3 private sector arbitrators, one of which is picked by the corporation. So as a hypothetical example, and then I'll give a couple of real life examples, if a corporation from a TPP country invests in, say, the gas industry, and then we get new gas regulations in a place like Pennsylvania, say, that corporation could sue the US government for having those new regulations hurt its profits in the gas industry. So it sounds impossible, it sounds like a conspiracy theory, but it is true. By the end of 2011, we have seen 450 cases being launched by corporations, including Chevron, ExxonMobil, Dow Chemical, Cargill, against 89 governments. There's about $12 billion worth of claims pending on environmental, safety, consumer rights, public health policies. And I'm just going to give a few quick examples to help us, again, understand sort of what are the types of cases that are being brought. And Manuel is going to talk later about some current cases that are ongoing. But late 1990s, the Mexican government conditioned a construction permit for a toxic waste facility to a US firm, Metalclad, on the condition that the firm cleans up existing toxic waste problems. Seems pretty rational. Metalclad responded by launching an investor-state case under NAFTA, after Chapter 11, and they claimed that essentially Mexico